Hello everyone, welcome back to the Obituary Stories. Today's topic is going to be about something that has happened quite recently. Yeah.
As I think most of us know, the case of Megan Khung has shocked the entire country, and everyone is left with full of questions after reading news about the case of Megan Khung. And in case y'all have not been following the story, just a summary of what had happened in Singapore. Just a few years ago, we had this girl, a 4-year-old girl, who was actually burned to death. Oh, sorry, she was punched to death, and then her body was later burned in a a metal can. And then later on, her ashes were scattered at sea. No one knew about this until her biological father made an effort to call the biological mother to find out more details. And that was when he realized there was no answer from her, only to realize that her body is missing. After a police investigation, they found out that this child was very much abused in ways that we cannot imagine ourselves going through in a lifetime or seeing anyone go through in a lifetime. Even I was so emotional. I broke down as I read the story. I felt like this is the most inhumane way of treating a young child, and especially by someone who never raised that child, who was responsible for killing the child, which was her stepdad, or rather her mom's fiance or boyfriend, who violently had attacked Megan. I apologize if I did not get all the words right, but this is the gist of the story. What do you think about the article as you read it?
Firstly, I know that when it happened to Megan, she was 4 years old, right?
Yeah.
And I think as a 4-year-old child, she probably did not know that she was experiencing abuse. Being attacked, being physically abused, perhaps being emotionally abused by the trusted adults around her. And at that point in time, I think she didn't even know that, how bad abuse could be done to her. So, being a very vulnerable child, I would have loved to know, right, what exactly she was experiencing, what emotions she was going through, and whether she had people she can actually talk about it or express it to. I think that is what I think made me quite sad, upset about. Yeah, the kind of support systems that were lacking in her lives, and how best as educators or as teachers or even as like adults around her, if they could have intervened earlier.
And you were also telling me like how there were so many bystanders in her life, people who knew about it but did not raise their voices and tell someone about it in an outspoken fashion to raise an alarm. Yes. In fact, her school teachers and her school educators have also wondered about the bruises on her skin. However, they were just told it's just a fall, or it's just that she was being punished. But school teachers have also raised concerns that those marks are excessive forms of punishments. Yet these did not seem to stop a murder, and tragically Megan had passed at the age of 4. It is heartbreaking to know that we are from a first world nation, yet these sort of systems still are not adequate to support a child and ensure the total, complete safety of our children. And that is what bothers me at night when I think about Megan. I think about all the other children who are going through the same. Or there might be very few, far and few in between, such cases that we have not heard of, or we might have just missed, simply because we dismiss them as a case of punishment and we don't see the need to report these cases.
Especially when it comes to, parents disciplining their children behind closed doors, we term it as, because that's a family affair, like let's not interfere or meddle in other people's business. I can understand coming from that standpoint because ultimately parents should have reasons, right? There's a reason why children need to be disciplined for in under different circumstances. But I think when it comes to abuse, and the thing is, children themselves might not even realize or identify it as abuse. They might just think that, oh, it's just their parents punishing them for good reason.
And they think this is normal, that, you know, kids are all punished or just disciplined this way. And it's okay if parents punish me. I'll cry, you know, maybe there's a cane coming, I'll just run in order to survive. And I was caned too as a kid, by the way. So I'm just letting you know that punishment to a certain extent might be seen as okay by society. One society might say it's fine, but another society might totally say it's not fine. Let's talk about an example where Ang Mohs and Caucasians will definitely stand up for the rights of a child, and they will even ban you from using the cane because they think this is a form of abuse. So in one society, this might be acceptable to cane, especially in Asian countries where we have lots of Asian parents. We do want to make sure that the child's safety is still first and foremost a priority. And how do we define that? This is also something that the world has never taught us in concrete black and white terms. There's no way to say that caning because a child was misbehaving is right or wrong, right? We do take references from biblical books or teachings elsewhere, and we take reference from what our parents did to us, and we pass it on to other people as well. And as an educator, I'll stand from an educator's point of view to say that I think that caning children to some extent is wrong, because sometimes if the rationale behind caning is not properly termed, it can be seen as a form of abuse, especially when it violates human rights.
Correct. And I always believe that you don't need to hit a child for them to learn something, because I feel like at the end of the day, it's what we tell our children to make them learn. Whatever the punishment can be, it should never be physical. And I think there's this quote that I really stand by. If you want flowers to grow, we water them, we shower them with love, and not by punishing them, right? Or something about raise words. Okay, there's a quote. I forgot. There's a quote that I wanted to say.
It's all right. She'll say it when she gets those words out.
Let me find it.
But let's talk about how we can take extra care to raise children. And today I have come up with just 7 ideas on how we can ensure that all our kids are safe in good hands. Okay, the first thing we should think about for every child is to make sure that they have a home, a shelter, a place where they can say, okay, this is where I feel safe in, this is where my room is, this is where I feel like I can be myself, I don't have to put on a mask, and this is where I come to, and when I want to cry, I can cry in this particular space. So they must have a safe shelter, and nowhere else in the world feels safer than this shelter. How about you? What do you think about the next point?
I think that, so apart from physical shelter, I feel like most of the times people don't realize how important emotional safety is. Emotional safety, to me, means that I can say I'm uncomfortable to you, and you validate my discomfort, right? Saying that if I'm sad, and ask me why I'm sad, without telling me that actually you don't have to be sad. Or like actually
without dismissing that person's feelings.
Correct. Right? And personally, to me as a child, and even as an adult, I want to make sure that my students or the children who I'm working with are emotionally safe with me, and that they can tell me whatever they want without me judging them or without me dismissing what they're saying.
Exactly. I think emotional safety comes as one of the most important ways for a child to express how they feel, and because this emotional safety will be actually a clue into what goes on in a child's mind, it can tell us what they will think in future as well, because things are a predictor of a past. So if they never felt safe being around adults like their parents, then at least someone knows about it, and at least someone can stand up and say, hey, we've got to intervene. The next point we will talk about is having a financial knowledge and financial support. I think children need to be able to feel financially supported, like they can afford the most basic things in their lives, like going to the school to buy food, buying anything that they want to eat, making sure that they are not deprived. And I think in first world nations like Singapore, we are not deprived of such things, such basic needs like this as defined by Maslow's hierarchy. And I think that financial support for a child also means that the next time they go somewhere else and they want to buy something, they feel like they are being supported, they can get the needs met. It's also good to supply children with financial knowledge and literacy, but I think we can cover that another day. What's another pressing issue?
Okay, so as a child, right, I think, I cannot remember when it all started, but I feel like identity is always something that children are trying to explore. So it could be exploring their own bodies, right, at a particular age when they see their bodies develop in a quite unusual way that they might not be prepared for, right? And they're trying to understand themselves, how they're like with the peers. And so at a very, very young age, they start to ask themselves who they are. And I think for children, I think it's like they find it very important to know who they are and who they stand for, right? And as parents and as educators, we want to make sure that they are able to form their identities as early as possible. And so they might come up to you and say, I don't know what I want to be, or I don't know who I am. I don't really know who I am, for example.
Yeah, and it's okay to accept the fact that
Yeah.
children don't know yet. They really genuinely do not know whether they want to be a lawyer, a doctor, a teacher. They don't know what they want to be, or maybe perhaps an influencer. And who are we to judge and say that they should become a lawyer, a doctor, a teacher? I do know of times when some parents surely hope that their children become doctors and lawyers, and perhaps maybe cross the line as to impose their wishes on their children. But I would say that is not something we should do. But this will mean that it will create tensions in relationships.
Yeah.
Okay, what about the next thing?
Diary. I think diary, is it because it's a platform for children to express themselves? So it could be by writing, could be drawing, it could just be drawing lines across the paper to
Yeah.
express frustration.
Yeah.
Yeah, so how is that a support system?
Actually, that is actually a very good clue as to what your child is thinking. Because if an educator, a caregiver knows that the child is frustrated, they can see huge, big scribbles across the book, and they actually know how much pressure they must have applied to draw that picture, or how little pressure they are when it comes to shading. When you're usually calmer, you don't shade so hard, you shade with a lighter stroke. But when you're angry, you usually scribble with a heavy hand.
Yeah, and the colours you choose also matter,
The
right?
colours you
It's
choose
obvious.
matter. Yeah, it's red, it clearly shows that you're angry. And what they doodle also reflects a mental state of their mind. And ultimately, educators can pick up on that, and we can get an idea as to what's going on in their lives. And the best way to support a child is to know how they feel, whether they feel assured and safe in every environment that they enter. And I think for the case of Megan, if she had a diary where the teachers can take a look at what's going on actually in her mind, that would have opened up warning signs, and educators who can pick up on those clues would actually have stepped in to do more. I find that the system here so far has done quite some work, but I do feel like there's more that could have been done to help Megan and support her, because instead of just saying it's extreme punishment, as what the volunteers have, or the ones who have picked up on these cues and marks that they've seen on Megan's hands and feet, they would have perhaps raised a higher alert as to what's going on. And her disappearance from school as well should have been a major cause of concern as to what's going on in her life. And perhaps more people could have gone to a unit to check out what
Actually happened.
is going on. I'm actually surprised that neighbours don't really step in to intervene. And usually neighbours are quiet because they don't really want to meddle with their neighbours' affairs. And those neighbours who have picked up her screams and cries surely they must have heard it and heard some pitiful girl going like, can I please have some food? Can I please have something to eat? Because Megan was deprived of food. And even though she begged, no one heard her at home. Sadly,
Yeah.
she starved.
Yeah, so I'm quite speechless with what happened to Megan. In fact, I just hope that such cases don't happen again. But then again, who's to know, right? If another case is in our midst.
In fact, there was another girl who was 2 years old who passed away because her parents were being irresponsible as well, and they had sadly abused the child to death. She was only 2 years old when she passed on. There are a few other cases where we will dive into and we'll cover more about bystander effects and other topics pertaining child abuse. For now, we call it a day, and we hope you stay tuned for the next series.
See you at the next one.